Hello. Welcome to another IFT Townhall. Today is September 5th, and we're going to start out with a bunch of people on the stage. I'll bring in my little handy-dandy agenda here. All the details and links. You can find this in Notion, also in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. There's no shout-outs this week because People Ops doesn't have any, and they've told me next week we will have quite a few, and it'll be a big one. So get ready for those. If you have shout-outs, send them to the People Ops channel so they can include them for the next one. That's always fun.
No one did a good job last week.
What?
No one did a good job last week.
No one did a good job last week. We all failed. We're going to start out with everyone here. We have a number of updates here regarding circles, all hands, PSF, and Zanzalu, and circles, and quiz shows, and things like this. So it makes sense for just all be on the stage and talk over each other as much as possible while we go over these things. But starting out, all hands this year going to be in Lisbon. Yay. Going to be beautiful. Going to be awesome. And the best part about that is that it's only going to be for a day. And it's going to be structured. I haven't quite figured out the exact structure, but it's going to be focused on kind of being the heartbeat of the organization, such that we're all on the same page. Specifically because directly after that, doing a festival as coordinated by Lou and everyone else in the comms team, and a bunch of other helpers, because it's going to be huge and awesome. And the idea of the all hands is to kind of get on the same page of what we're doing and who we're doing it for and how we plan on doing it, such that we move into the festival and include a much, much larger community of people. We're all kind of on the same page, telling the same story, and pointing to the right places when people have questions and proselytizing appropriately. So pretty intense all hands, get on the same page, have some fun. What are we doing? Go out and talk to people, like enjoy the community, grow the community. And that's kind of the idea this time around. So we'll see how this structure goes. I'm pretty excited about it because it's quote unquote growing the tribe. Lou, you want to take over a little bit and discuss a little bit about the kind of what we know about PSF so far?
Yeah, definitely. Isaac, if you wouldn't mind grabbing up the slides. Yeah, I think behind the scenes, we've been doing lots of stuff. A lot of work goes behind this scale of event, which has very much been a team effort. So like Corey mentioned, Thursday, 5th of March will be all hands. And then the hotel we're all in is about 5 minutes by car, 10-minute, 15-minute walk to the festival location. So on Friday, the 6th of March, will be our on-conference. So that's really the core day when all of us are participating. We'll be participating in different ways on day 2, but just to flag that. And then on Saturday, 7th of March, is where we have arts, music, cultural festival with as many interlays into public goods, our tech, our culture as possible that kind of can resonate with a much wider audience base. That. Next one, Isaac. So we've been doing a bit of soul searching and working with Santi and different team members around how do we create something unique that really sits within Tribe and Logos strategy and really building an open source culture. So I won't bore everyone and read out here, but you can see, I think, parallel societies, network states, all the different things before are going to be there and represented in different audiences, but we've shifted away a bit from saying it's a flagship event of the network state movement, more to it's a countercultural gathering, collectively organized and curated. It will be open source, it will be not for profit, it will be transparent, and it will invite collaboration across many different types of people, be that privacy orientated projects, be that open source orientated projects, network states, pop-up communities, all that good stuff. So why should we all be excited? I know I am. This is why I joined this project, to do good stuff like this. We all build Tribe, not just a few of us, we all do. We all participate because IFT Logos are being kind enough to kind of let us all come as one and build the all hands as part of that as well. We can continue on from Lisbon circles and the winnable issues here very, very tangibly with a fixed space and, in activations and campaigning in the build up to the event. for me, this is the one I love the most. We disrupt the crypto event segment. Boring, death by panels, as Santi always says. So we disrupt that space. Also, there's a big, the music festival creative industries are in a bit of a state of many independent festivals have been bought out. It's very hard for people to get funding to do things with independent integrity and community and collaboration. And I think what we can do is we can create a toolkit from this whole festival for non-crypto people. How can you get donation? How can you get sponsorship? How can you make everything available to people with different technologies? So I think that's really cool too. And it's co-curated. This, I won't kind of read through this too much, but we really wanted to position, Parallel Society is a new brand. It is something different, but we really want it to be the flagship for Logos and for IFT projects. So we've tried more to really align the two. And that, I think, comes through the more activations we've been doing. The team will talk about Zanzalu and more about circles, and it just gives us a basis to create cultural and institutional foundations for the future for us. So what have we done so far? Venue. We've got a venue. It's a big industrial space, can fit 2,000 people for day 2. Do you want to go to the next one, Isaac? You can see more on the floor plans here. Everyone will walk in through this entrance. Oh, it's going quick. Yeah, so everyone will walk in. You come in through a big railway track because it was a former industrial building. So we can do some really cool stuff in that tunnel. The next one, Isaac. And the main thing, which I think has come through a lot of thinking from Santi and also our talks from people like Monero and others, to really build out a zone-based structure. So we, instead of having setups for panels and other stuff like that, we have zones that people co-curate. And here is the kind of thoughts about the big broad categories that we can demonstrate and people can participate within. This is just a bit on the floor plan. So you can see we'll have a main stage that will be there for day 2 as well, where we'll have bars and F&B. There's big windows where people can be sat, and that can be open in the daytime, so we get natural light in, and then by nighttime it can be closed out for partying and stuff. Next one. This is my crap designing. We've got a good 3D designer external building this out, how it could be divided, but this gives you a bit of a vibe of how zones could be there and like temporary structures that people can go between. Next one, Isaac. And then if you see, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but on the gray box that's black on the right-hand side, that is a soundproof room where we can host workshops. If we do let anyone do a keynote or panel, that's where they can do it. So yeah.
Just to jump in, I think people can do panels. I mean, the panel thing is a meme. So whoever is saying over there that they like panels,
I love panels.
So the zones are the idea of them is that they're kind of self-organized. So if the people who come together into zone 4, they want to do a panel, then they'll do a panel.
I'm going to do a panel. I'm going to invite you on it.
Just to make it as interactive as possible. And we just see that people, in all the data we've seen also from surveys for events and stuff, people are highly rate workshops, highly rate things that are very hands-on, where they can learn stuff with a hands-on approach. And they like keynotes and panels only when it's a very specific piece of information that they probably can't get anywhere else. Anything that is very highly curated, deep research and stuff, that's fine. So that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Next one. And yeah, that's just showing the second stage. And then this is just a bit of cultural coalition stuff we've sorted already. So coming out of the fire escape of our place is a maker space, art space, 3D printers, community that I know very well. So we can have that open on day 1 for DIY zine workshops, for maybe more, workshop like woodwork, ceramics, art market by all the people. So that's really cool. Next one.
Is there a available tooling that we can see that's going to be available in that makerspace? I don't want to plan something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. They really are. Like, me and Amelia they're co-working by the seaside, and we know the guys really well. So that was a big reason why we wanted to do this venue as well.
Can you share that with me, or us, so
Yeah.
I can look at what's available in that space to see if I can plan something ahead of time and build something?
Yeah, definitely. And then this is also in the same building as Fabrica Manja. So it's a pop-up kitchen set up by a punk band member who's a very, very famous chef here. And he hates the system. He gives a platform to underrepresented chefs. So from the Africa diaspora, refugees, does programs like pairing Michelin-starred chefs with refugees and things like that. So he's going to curate the whole food booth for us so we can really support those voices and have amazing food. But we can also use his pop-up kitchen and event space for, we might want to do a soup kitchen. We might want to do different events within it, but also on day 2 when we have like international headliners and music people, that can be their back of house as well. So yeah, it's cool.
Can I cook something?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to cook some large pieces of meat.
Very good.
I've been promising Nomos I'd do this for a long period of time. This might be my opportunity.
Definitely. The kitchen's awesome. So this is next one so this is work in progress. I think we're going through a rebrand process. The theme is the art route is post-internet. We're working with a really experienced event designer, and event design is so different to other design. It's kind of has its real own nuances. And Kosha, who's doing this, has designed for Boiler Room, has designed for We Out Here Festival, for Bicep, for Deck Mental. He just gets it. So within about a week, we'll have everything to share with everybody, week or 2 weeks. And that's kind of why we've held off a little bit on big social posting, big announcements, because it's like we've got one opportunity to make this work for both days and the audiences. So the rebranding will be done. The website will then be launched after middle of October. And then we'll have closed sponsorship income in so we can see what funds we have to spend on music programming. And then we have a 5.5 month runway until the event happens. That's the next one. Some real boring but fun stuff. Been great working with the finance team around taxation, VAT in Portugal, how we can get savings back from things we spend. Ticketing, legal. Noel and Eric have been really helpful, and let's get all the sponsorship agreements done. We'll get it. We've got all our insurances in place pretty much with our vendor, visa planning for talent, licensing permit and stuff is in progress with the venue. So this is the stuff you just want out the way, and then we could be focusing on the exciting stuff. Yeah. Coalition. So for Unconference, where are we at? So at top of funnel, Monericon have in principle agreed to be a part of it. That we haven't kind of closed out any deals, but they want to do a privacy orientated immersive art installation, which I'll come back to in a minute. So that again is really great for us. Like, how can they move away from a booth? How can they do something that adds creative value to our audiences and attendees? Likewise for Cake Wallet, they maybe want to bring in a couple of their partners and have more, be very present in the privacy zone. So we're talking about things like really interesting workshops, privacy salons where people can just come and have health checks, do different things, all kinds of different stuff. And that's the role of our team to give. What we're seeing in the co-curation is people are like, can you help us a bit? What do we, some have a very strong idea. Others are like, we've only done panels or keynotes. What would you do differently? So we're getting into really interesting task forces with their marketing teams to come up with stuff that, like, whilst it's open source and it's co-curated, we want to set a minimum standard, I think, so that we're doing something that is good for all the money and effort that we're putting into it. That's on that. And here's just a bit of a sample, I won't read through it, but this is some stuff we're kind of presenting to Monericon, so they can do a call out to artists. They can align it to their values. Obviously, privacy is, there's an installation idea there. You can step into a dark and graffiti walled corridor, surveillance cameras capture people, scramble their images, and then have things with that as people leave. Next one, Isaac. Yeah. different things here. So these are their 4 pillars, and then we just tried to come up with ideas that relate to that. So you can see as an attendee, if I come to that, I have a much more emotive experience. I connect with topics, and I think what we will keep maybe 1 or 2 zones from unconference in for day 2. So the more creative led ones work really well for educating day 2 audience around some of our key themes and issues that we're trying to foster, momentum and movement against. Next one. Coalition talent. We've mapped out like all the local radio, underground radio stations, different music venues, punk bands, other music, different genres that we can invite to be a part of this and do stage takeovers. So we have at least an organic reach of 500K to 1 million followers from their following, which helps us with ticket sales, but also we do good for Lisbon. We don't come in as a foreign project like, oh, we're just going to bring some international acts in and do something that doesn't really give a shit about local communities. So there will be 70% of the program will be quite wide-ranging local acts that are maybe more normally underrepresented. And then we go into underground acts that through data analysis we know will sell tickets and will be engaging to people. So yeah. And there's an interesting one that I found, for instance. So there's a project called Unearthing the Music, where they've done an archive of music from the 90s and the 2000s from dictatorships across Europe. And they're doing really interesting stuff. The author of there's a book, and the author's a Portuguese. He also has a festival here. And at the minute, the archive is all Web 2. So like that, there's already things where we could talk to them around, come and be a partner with us, and maybe we can work with you around your archive. Marketing, Road to PSF, Zanzibar, I'll let the others talk about. We've loosely, developed out a marketing strategy and plan with different content pillars, different narratives. But like I said, we've got one chance to make that land really well. So that will all start and go live more once we have the brand and the website within 4 to 6 weeks. Next one. What next? Like, it's been quite behind the scenes, and I think that's often critical when you've got boring things like contracts and schedules and financial stuff to work out. Now I think we shift really into the open, so we can have a monthly open call where CCs, where anyone from the community can join and be a part of that. We encourage different people to volunteer within the organization and outside. And also, yeah, to everyone here, you're there. So I think let's get planning, what could be really, what are your gaps for your projects? What are you trying to work upon? What could be useful to be use cases, then feedback that you can get from that day. I think one thing Corey, Santi and Amelia had mentioned is like we can really start seeding through these winnable issues through to the hack space that we can have here. So yeah, I'll shut up. Sorry, it took longer than I thought.
No worries. We don't have any presentations today, so it's just us. And then me blabbing on about all the things that happen across the IFT. So we can talk as long as we want. From there, we got blank page here. Isaac, does that mean you're taking over or someone else is?
No, I'll take over. Okay, so some of you may or may not be aware, several members of the Logos team ventured to Zanzalu, which is a pop-up village based in Fumba town in Zanzibar, where we took part in a bunch of different things. We joined as a coalition partner, so we hosted the opening ceremony, ran workshops, student weekend, and we also set up a circle based in Zanzibar as well, which Santi will chat to you about in a bit. So we started with the opening ceremony, which Lou put an awful lot of time and effort into pulling off, and pull it off she did. It was very successful, way more attendees than we planned, and it was just the perfect start to the week, I'd say. Built connections with locals that we then went on to do more stuff with, so it was great. We also did workshops, saw Vaslav in the comments. Vaslav ran a workshop on how to defend public goods, such as the Internet Archive, and spoke about Logos tech stack and how it's important to make sure that you build with privacy and censorship resistance in mind at the very beginning. Only half the attendees in this video, because the other half showed up 5 seconds later, but it was a sold out room. We also ran the student weekend, so got a bunch of university students from the local universities, and we helped them develop ideas for how they can help improve and grow the local community. So bunch of different ideas from education, how to alleviate poverty, decentralized apps, and then they all, after they'd had time to ideate on day one, they then pitched on day two to a star panel of Zanzalu and Vaslav and someone else, I think. And yeah, all the projects got funded. So Logos are going to support them, and whether it's financially or also with tech expertise to help those projects get off the ground. So really excited to see what comes out of that. Also did a beach cleanup in partnership with Wake Up Zanzibar. Few of the guys went out and helped clean up one of the local beaches, and also took part in a football match for the local side. I think only Stephen played representing us, and we lost. So maybe it was his fault, maybe not, but I hear it was an absolute blinder of a game. We also ran a circle, as I touched on earlier, and did several sessions, both with the circle and also leadership training for circles, and super successful. We found a really great winnable issue, and everyone pitched in, got together, put time in. Massive shout out to Amelia for finding the school and setting up the meeting when they came down to Zanzalu, and then also Vaslav did a load of work setting up the website and helping us there for donations. We did win the issue, Vaslav, very true, but I'll let Santi talk to you more about that one.
Cool, thanks. So before I go into like exactly what happened in the Zanzalu circle, I just wanted to do a bit of an overview of what we've been doing from circles. I assume most of the people in the organization are aware of what we're doing, but I'm just going to give a little of a high-level overview of what they are and why we're doing it. And Amelia will take over later because she was presenting a lot of this information to the circle's leads, who have come up as volunteers from the community to actually start their own meetups. And we were just kind of giving them that background. So basically, I kind of summarized this based on what we've been talking about, trying to make it like sentence and paragraph definitions. So basically, the tightest definition I can come up with is Logos circles are self-organizing groups that act as the local chapters of the Logos network. So they're the human kind of powered part of the network. So they meet locally, they're self-organized groups, take action on issues that matter locally. Each circle is autonomous, self-sustaining ideally, and they act as a node in the decentralized network that we're building. So not only from a tech perspective, this is kind of the human movement side of the whole stack, like the governing body in a way. And what they do is basically respond to local needs. They identify local problems and work together to solve them with our technology, with our values, and basically experimenting with real-world applications of what we can be doing. So the context for this is basically, I think, next slide, I think it would be good. Thanks, Isaac. Basically, why we're doing this is forming a network of power governance, giving actual real-world use for our applications and building them off of real-world needs in order to basically gain legitimacy at the local level and essentially fix, compete, or build parallel institutions that are better than the ones that are failing at local levels. So there's a lot of examples that can be used for this, from financial services to social services, but also because it's a human network, it can also solve things that are just not really necessarily related to technology. So there's even opportunities to I don't know, tackle problems that aren't necessarily technologically based, like helping people with a soup kitchen or a garden or a communal garden or so on. So there's a reason for that Amelia can go into later regarding kind of the meeting crisis. But if you think about it, essentially what we're doing is we're creating new forms of civil organization to basically counteract kind of decay of civil society and political participation that we see across the board over decades, right? Every country, this is something that has been happening in general. So this is a way for us to kind of compete with legacy structures, compete with culture, institutions, and governance that we see failing due to several reasons. But in this way, we kind of bridge the digital divide, and we make an impact where it's most needed. And in that way, by solving these real world problems, we can strengthen civil society, expand our reach, and create legitimacy for our solution, right? So if you think about it that way, we solve a problem in the community, and by solving that problem, we can gain more followers to solve more problems, and therefore kind of prosper together, right? And implement the ideas of privacy, civil liberties, freedom, and kind of escaping the how would I put it? Escaping the inefficient systems that are very hard to escape if you don't have something to exit into, kind of. So that said, just to go over what we did at the Zanzalu Circle, we came together with the activists there and some of the people that were visiting or just participating in the event, and we tried to identify one of these problems that we could actually solve during the weeks that we were going to be there. So after, I think, the second or third session, somebody came who was living there for a while, who was a foreigner who was living there, and was in touch with some local activists that were running an after-hours school for children that are in situations of violence or that needed a safe place or a place to learn things that are outside from the government schools. And they've been doing this for a while. They are all, the teachers are all ex-graduates kind of from the school, and they're helping children of all ages up until early 20s, I believe, or like late teenage years. And after just kind of going over, because I think the first approach we had was, okay, one of the main problems in Zanzibar is underemployment or gray area employment or lack of employment, and that's a massive problem. So what we did is kind of try and break it down into things we can actually make an impact. Because that's kind of the point also of circles, is to solve problems and make an impact locally, even if it's a small thing, the impact can already be massive, right? So we eventually identified helping the school as a way to actually solve or like partially, let's say, fix this issue. And we essentially came up with this idea of helping these kids gain some technical literacy by just being around computers, giving them computers to work with, to engage with from a very early age. So that would basically help them a lot in life by making them more technically literate for the future, right? Which is very important also for gaining employment later on. So that was kind of the way we focused it, to kind of tackle the broader employment crisis by fixing some very specific issue. And everybody came together very nicely for that. Everybody came, like the different activists, the different logos kind of CCs who were there. We just, with our own different skill sets, with our own different backgrounds, we came together to solve this problem. And what we did was set up a crowdfunding platform using crypto with a target of raising $2,000 to buy 10 Raspberry Pi based computer setups to set up a computer room for these kids. And it was a massive success. Everybody came together. Everybody understood what we were trying to do, and it was great. We visited the school. Everybody kind of said, like, Václav, massive shout out to Václav, who was really present in supporting this, and all the other activists from Zanzalu. And in the end, we raised the money successfully. And I think yesterday the Raspberry Pi has actually arrived at the school, so they're almost set up, and that will be a long-lasting impact from this kind of test circle, right? Because circles are supposed to be long-lasting and embedded in the community, but because we were all there for a while, this was all kind of like, okay, let's see what we can do while we're here together. And it was a massive success. So I think that's what we would like to be. That's what we would like to see from all the others. So just finding these issues, working on them, and actually winning them or fixing something so that we can all move forward instead of just sitting there and wallowing in our misery. So that was kind of the high-level summary. It was a big success, in my opinion, also for us to see how these things can work, for CCs to see how activists groups actually operate as well, and how it actually feels to be an activist, because there's this emotional thing about helping other people as well, which is what drives people forward, which is what keeps people coming back as well. And it's kind of like I was saying yesterday, it's like the highest level of the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It's like when you can have all the material things in the world, but when you start really helping other people, that's the highest level of like human transcendence in a way. So yeah, and I didn't have slides for that. I was just going to talk about that. So now I'm going to leave it off to Emilia, who can talk more about like why we're doing this from like the argument's sake, from the data also driven approach. And yeah, thanks. If you have any questions, obviously we can talk about it later.
Yeah, thank you, Santi. I think that's a really good overview of like what circles are. I think we need to go back, Isaac, to slide 36, I think it is. So another way that I also describe circles to participants is like this is an experiment in creating a new type of network state based around developing our own institutions as a group and solving local issues. So the next kind of section we'll present on is why we're doing circles, and probably everyone that gets hired at IFT, everyone who's part of the Logos community, like it resonates with you that there are certain global issues around the world that we are trying to build an alternative system for. So the first one that kind of stands out is this global collapse of institutions, like a global fall in trust of governance. There's this research from Pew Research that says 64% of people are not satisfied with how democracy is working. Like I'm sure everyone also has themselves or their friends, their family, this traditional kind of trust in political institutions. It's breaking down, and we can see that especially in younger people, marginalized people, and digitally fluent people, that we are looking to build alternatives, and that's essentially what network states are trying to do. So through circles, we're trying to respond in this way by giving people some type of alternative, giving people a space to organize, solve real issues like we did in Zanzibar, and start taking back some agency, not just waiting for magically somehow political institutions to change themselves and become uncorrupt. We can actually do that ourselves through self-organizing. So we can move to the next one, Isaac. This is like quite a shocking, if you have completely tuned out and you're not looking at the video, I recommend to look at just this map for a second. This shows in 2024 the democracy index globally across the world, so typed by regime. And all of these red ones, they're standard authoritarian regimes. In blue, supposedly like democratic regimes, but we have had some discussions also like interesting to see the United States there. It's a flawed democracy, but I think increasingly we can see more authoritarian situations. I won't even get into it, right? Like ICE alone, like this should be a kind of red state now, unfortunately. Yeah, so if we move to the next slide, Isaac, there's some more kind of reasoning behind how circles can be used to kind of confront this. We believe that the Logos is privacy-first technology stacks. We've got Nomos, Waku, and Codex. We build these technologies and able to be completely censorship-resistant and decentralized and rebuild a civic space using these technologies that can kind of confront all those issues and, yeah, lead to like something that's actually If people want to fork it, if the political system isn't serving you, great, fork it, create a new nomos parachain or zone that we're calling them, and create a new system. Like, this is the technology that allows you to exit from those authoritarian regimes. So on the next one, please, Isaac. This last one, I think Santi was touching on this too, right? And I really have enjoyed Jared's talks on this too, because this is something that resonates with me quite a lot. The meaning crisis is something that John Vervaeke talks about a lot, and it's kind of a response to, if you know the book Bowling Alone, which is kind of talking about the breakdown of civic society. People used to go bowling with groups of people in the United States. Now people are going on their own. And by creating circles and groups of people that are aligned in values with each other, this can be a way of kind of repairing the social fabric. There's lots of interesting writing that Jared done as well on how we can use different ritualized moments in circles to kind of create this sense of something that's bigger than ourselves, and like really celebrating something together. So beyond kind of the political elements of circles and the grassroots movement building, the activism, they are spaces for people to build relationships with other people rooted in these shared values that we have, and kind of bringing in different rituals of mutual care and mutual aid for each other. Working on, a winnable issue could be something like not just the circle in Zanzibar working to help the school. Maybe there's one person in our circle that we can all kind of get behind and support them. And like, that's really kind of missing culturally around the world right now. So it's this idea of rediscovering civic life from the ground up. Thanks, Isaac. Yeah, so I think it's cool just do a spotlight on how we're getting on in Lisbon, and then in the future, anyone who's running a circle can come give an update, because it's interesting to hear how things are going, what people are working on, who's involved, because we've had some really interesting people, especially turn up to the Lisbon circle. So high level, this is how we're doing. We've had 4 circles so far. There's been about 70 people that have come in and out of the circles. We have about 5 core returning members, which is great. Those are all external people, not CCs. And I think this is also quite valuable, especially considering in Lisbon we'll be having Parallel Society Festival. We've had 96 email contacts, so people registered for the Lisbon Circle, which we can then, invite them to come to PSF, volunteer, get them involved in different areas of the festival. So next slide, please. So most people probably know too, we build circles around this idea of working together and win issues. So those are the winnable issues we mention a lot. A winnable issue is something that it's small enough that everyone within the group can actually achieve it, so we get this sense of winning, but it's big enough that actually it matters, like it makes a difference, it makes a change. We've been trying to figure out what the right issue for us is in the Lisbon Circle, but we have kind of 2 main initiatives right now. We've been working with a community in North Lisbon in an area called Talude, which if you are local in Portugal, you've probably seen. It's been on the news quite a lot recently. It's a informal, self-organized community. And that means they have lots of informal housing, informal businesses, kind of a gray area economy in this neighborhood. Self-organized, there's local community leads. It's a diaspora neighborhood, mostly from Cape Verde, Santo Tomé, and some of other kind of old colonial Portuguese countries, Angola, for example. And we met with a group, it's a family-run factory, actually. They produce a liquor called grog, which is a type of rum from Santo Tomé. And they are really interested in how we could support them building a peer-to-peer marketplace, so it could connect them with different users in this kind of informal economy. And it's a way of them formalizing different businesses in the neighborhood. Could also use this for freelancers, service providers. If we build this decentralized marketplace, this is also something that different circles could use to solve their different issues they're working on. For example, Ochi, who we connected with, who's starting a circle in Nairobi, Kenya, he was already building a decentralized marketplace to connect freelancers with work in Nairobi. So that could then come onto this one. I don't know if it's a Logos marketplace or just owned by the community. So yeah, it's cool to see how we can kind of repurpose initiatives across circles as well. This is a really interesting neighborhood we've been connecting with as well in Quinta da Mocha, also in North Lisbon. There are a lot of kind of famous footballers that come from this area, artists, musicians, some really interesting Portuguese drill music too. If anyone likes drill, I can send you some of the rappers. They're really good. And we've been trying to figure out how we can support their community, maybe by doing, bringing them into PSF, maybe by helping them run their own community events and giving them a platform for their artists using kind of Logos, social media, and us as a community. So yeah, we are trying to figure out exactly what the winnable issue is, but we've made quite a lot of progress with connecting with kind of local diaspora communities around Lisbon. Thanks, Isaac. And finally, just shout outs to some of our Lisbon Circle members. I wanted to just showcase these guys. They turn up a lot. You can also see kind of the varied skill set we have of people coming. We have like privacy activists, we have multimedia artists, developers, YouTubers, international relations PhD student who's currently reading Farewell to Westphalia and is going to give us his feedback on that. So yeah, it's been awesome. Really, really cool people turning up. And yeah, that's Lisbon. And I look forward to kind of hearing other circle leads coming and sharing what they're up to as well.
Yeah, very much so on that one. I'm planning on leveraging the town halls to talk more about these and bringing them in. I know that one of the updates in the forums that I have for in the details in the Notion page is this chairs update from the LA one.
Nice.
Having them come on and talk about it and kind of share those stories and put faces to the names and talk about the initiatives and the winnable ideas is, I think, even more powerful than kind of reading a forum post. So I wouldn't mind. And this has been historically kind of a technical update of what's happening across the IFT and where the projects are, but why we're doing this stuff needs to be a part of it too. And that's, I think, what y'all are bringing to the table.
Just a shameless plug about, just to finish, we want to grow these. So any CCs who are interested in running their own in their local location, just let us know, because we're actually looking to expand. I mean, we're almost ready kind of with the foundations, solid documentation, best practices, kind of the workflows. But now we're looking for anybody who might be interested to just set up their own in their own communities. It's a great way to meet new people, expand, also just, I don't know, your networks, your personal networks. There's many good reasons to do one. So just let us know.
Yeah, I've currently initiated a local, like, historically Black university here near me that I'm going to try and start doing one with. Actually, it was the start of the sit-in movement for the civil rights movement in the United States. It'd be a really cool place to kind of start one because it has that history and culture to it, and I think they'd be super into it. I'm also interested in hearing like how Chair and others in LA started the process of doing it. So like, can you share the documentation you have so I can put it in the Notion page for others to read? Because like, part of what I don't understand in the process of exploring starting one is like, how do you do it? What are the tools? What are the resources I have available to me? How have you done it so far? How do I just get the people together and start talking about what we're trying to do? This presentation, I think, did quite a bit in helping me understand how you've done it so far and the point and kind of the things you're using as tools to communicate to people what we're doing. But the more we have that, I think it lowers the barrier of entry for others to start thinking about how they can do it in their local communities.
Come on Monday, Corey. We're going to do a new Circle Leaders onboarding session. I'll invite you, and there's a deck that I can share publicly too. And yeah, there's a ton of Notion documentation that can be kind of pinned anywhere, like a lot. People
Awesome.
said
Yeah.
a lot to read through.
The more we just throw it around everywhere and start referring to it and using it, the better. I'll be there Monday. Just let me know.
Nice.
Well, cool. I'll remove the blank page, and I can start talking about some of the other things we have of the tech updates. We have about 15 minutes. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. And for those of you who'd like to stick around, who are still on stage, feel free to ask questions. I'll answer them as we go. But we have a few releases. I'm gonna start doing this as well. Like we release things, so we should probably start putting them here too. And it's hard to kind of see across all the different channels we have what actually gets released. You can put your hands on and use, and what are the changes that goes to these things. We have status desktop version 2.35. We have local backups with this, which has been something of a feature I've been wanting for a long time. Makes it easier to sync and store. This happens automatically. The blog post, which I refer to down below in the thing, tells you how it works. Give you some ideas on like how status is keeping you from losing all of your data, even if it is on a different device, and then how you can restore it. Joe came on in a previous one to kind of discuss this, but now it's out. You can get your hands on it. It's useful. And so this is for desktop. I imagine mobile will be coming soon along with tablet. And then we have Nimbus, a low urgency update coming. So if you're running a validator using Nimbus, go grab that. It's an efficiency update. Should make things better. Good stability improvements. And then the links are also there too to learn like exactly all the little fine-grained details that come into those things. We did publish a number of articles over the past 2 weeks. Obviously, status desktop, bringing in local backups and a few other things, new homepage, a lot of performance improvements, and a huge memory improvement. So like the amount of space it takes up in your RAM is like 400 megabytes less, right? So like they're making some really, really drastic improvements in like how it runs on your computer. And I think there's a lot more room to grow with that as well. So stay tuned for more as we keep improving the way in which status runs. Nomos team has a really big one. Nomos team has considered their version 1 specifications complete. So what mainnet of Nomos looks like can be understood. You can go look at the specifications and then understand to the very finest grain details of like what Nomos is when we call it mainnet. And from here, it's just getting the current technology to the level of production quality we need to then release it to the public and have a mainnet in Nomos. So that's really exciting. That's a big step, right? And I encourage everyone to go read the blog. It's on blog.nomos.tech. The links in the Notion, and you can just kind of start to see kind of where we're at. How the blend network works is kind of another one that come up here later. We'll get to it. But that's a big step. And now moving on, we have decentralized messaging layer from VAC, the DMLS, which is a way of doing group chats within like a decentralized group chat. MLS is kind of the normal standard for doing group chats that's beyond what's called a pairwise connection for group chats. So like a pairwise connection for group chats to say like we're all in a group chat and I send a message to the group chat. That means I'm sending a message to each of you individually. That doesn't scale very well. And for a long time, that's how all group chats worked. That's why like more often than not, you couldn't go very big in terms of the size of the group. MLS is a new standard for doing that. And then we've improved it further by decentralizing MLS. Here's a blog about that. Go check it out. Codex August updates. So they've got their updates coming in to see how Codex is moving along. Nomos did a blog on the Blend network, which is their specific way in providing privacy at the most base layer. So like how validators get privacy, meaning that when you're submitting proposals for the next block, you're moving the blockchain along, how validators are sending these messages along, and the associated information you can infer from the rate in which they do this, like how much stake they have in the network, and how we obfuscate that type of thing so that you're providing privacy to validators as well. Really interesting network that is a bit differentiated from a standard mixnet. And so understanding those differences is important, and like how we provide those levels of privacy in layers of the stack that no other network can. Waku has a couple blogs on how Safe uses Waku to power their decentralized multisig operations. So like when you do a multisig, you're signing a transaction for multisig or like initiating a transaction for a multisig wallet. You sign a message and you put it somewhere. Well, normally, historically, throughout time, safe, Gnosis safe, will just store it on their indexer. They have a computer that holds these things so that when someone else logs in, they can say, hey, what's been signed or what's been initiated? And they say, you have to rely on that infrastructure to get that information. Well, now they use Waku, or they have the opportunity to use Waku to decentralize that, add a layer of privacy, and then no longer rely on Gnosis specific infrastructure to be there when you want to use a smart contract. And some key highlights from their virtual offsite, which I definitely encourage you to go read. Let's see what else we got. Forum posts. Mixed implementation in JavaScript. I didn't read all the forum posts yet. I didn't get all the time to get into these yet. There's quite a bit. There's a proposal in the status app forums, which I enjoyed, which is making an event function for status. So like how to alter communities so that when you're in a status community, how can the administrators make an event? Like how can we grow the utility of the community's function within status? Go check that out. No one's responded to it yet. So for those of you in status who are listening to this, I'll acknowledge it. Logos forum, I've started including these because I hadn't historically. But were some responses, updated responses from Chair on private decentralized marketplace needed for the Lisbon Circle. So I think this is what y'all just discussed. There's an ongoing conversation in the Logos forum about these types of things. And so I think this is a great opportunity to say, like, a lot of ongoing conversations from circles ends up in the Logos forum. And so if you want to keep up with the various things that are going on, go there and check it out. Also, for people who are doing Logos circles, I think, is that the place in which you want to have people kind of consolidate the conversations online where they want to talk about things that are happening? The Logos forum?
Yeah, I think that's the right place. I had a weird echo that's gone. Then Logos CCs can see that, and they can, see if there's anything they can also contribute to. So yeah, Logos forum would be the right place to share those updates.
Cool. And I'll be including those alongside of this and checking them myself. Let's see. Logos Circles Los Angeles. So Chair had a recap of their circle. So if you're interested in how they're doing it, go check that out and kind of the status of these things. I'm really interested to see as Circles continues and grows, both how they differentiate based on the region and the people involved and the overlapping things that happen, right? Because that's where you get a lot of the needs, these winnable issues and needs of individual communities will start to kind of emerge as common needs across multiple places, which then informs all the tech stack or the roadmap of the tech stack, what we should be focusing on and who it's for and why we need to build it. The Circles endeavor is really providing the use cases that are needed for the developers of the tech stack to be like, oh, this is what we're doing it for. And here's how we prioritize the roadmap such that we're delivering to people that actually need something versus guessing, right? I'm really looking forward to seeing that grow in the combination of the two things of cultural movement, local needs, real communities, and then building tech to serve that. Because it's always, for almost all of my experience in Web3 has been those two things somewhat isolated, where we're guessing at needs and then applying it to communities versus going directly to communities, figuring out their needs in a broad way, and then directly serving that. So good job on that. And then finally, you have a very in-depth technical discussion on zero knowledge between Marvin and I forgot the girl's name or handle for that matter, ZK something. But if you're interested in reading what a ZK conversation looks like and getting lost, it's a really good conversation to do that with. So one of the media things we have here was the IFT research call or IFT ZK call going over what Marvin presented as the sum check protocol. So that's kind of the introduction of what it is and how it works. And then there's an ongoing conversation on looking at some of the technical details and questions from someone who understood that. So it's a really good, interesting thing if you're want to dive into ZK or what that conversation looks like. If you just want to look at it and get lost, go check it out. Isaac, you did the status quiz show. You started that off on the 28th, or at least that's when it was published. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Indeed. I'll hijack you quickly. I've got to remove that one. So status quiz show, we ran it on the 26th, 28th, can't remember. It was great. We welcomed Sept. Thank you. We welcomed Sept, Melanie, Aaron, and Joe. Quizzed them on their meme lore. Some were significantly better than others. So if you'd like to check it out.
I expected a lot more from Chair like you did.
Yeah. Who knows? Just wasn't his day. But yeah, the full quiz is on Twitter, YouTube, and Status LinkedIn. And then we're also releasing like short form clips on Twitter, YouTube, and Status's new TikTok page, which goes live today.
All right, for the youngsters. I'm too old for TikTok.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Down with the kids. Acting as though I haven't had TikTok for the best part of a decade now. So we the whole thing was pre-recorded, mainly because I was very much concerned about screwing it up. So we're now working to move towards a fully live version, which will then bring to the wider community as well. So real-time engagement with the audience, all that good stuff. And if anyone in IFT or outside of IFT wants to take part in the next one, please let me know. Corey's kind of put his name.
Yeah, I'll be there. Let's go. I'll make a fool out of myself. I'll show how boomer I am.
Yeah. And then as well as the quiz is kind of like the first step into a new era of content for Status, hopefully. So big thanks to everyone who took part. I won't say who won, but you can find that out for yourself. And it's yeah, like I said, it's the first part of a series of content which ventures far into the memeverse. So more on that to come.
Yeah. Then finally, I really enjoyed that. By the way, it was fun to watch. So nice to see kind of the core contributors coming on, having some fun together, joking around, talking about the organization and what we build, and outside of it too. So good job on that. The last piece of media that I found through my limited searching was Sept's podcast on something about Ethereum, I think is the name of the podcast. You can see that ETH is purposefully capitalized. But they did an episode on Status Network, so something about status, and talking about the Linea. It's a Linea-based podcast, and Cyprian on there and had a real good conversation. Check it out, which led into kind of the Linea announcement of our partnership. Really good. Get into some good stuff. And that's it all I have for this week. Once again, if you have something you'd like me to mention, the media that I'm missing, some place where I'm not checking, please send it my way so that I can include it in these types of things. And I'll keep doing my best to aggregate all the things happening on the IFT and share it with you every couple of weeks. Thanks everybody for joining, and y'all for joining me in this and kind of sharing all the stuff that's happening with how we're communicating this work and growing the tribe.
Thanks for having us, Corey.
Thank you.